My commitment to Israel, I want to make clear again, is ironclad. The security of Israel is critical. It will always make sure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself against Iran and terrorists it supports. But at the same time, this bill significantly increases humanitarian assistance we're sending to the innocent people of Gaza who are suffering badly. They're suffering the consequences of this war that Hamas started. And we've been working intently for months to get as much aid to Gaza as possible.
Just violations of human rights are happening in front of the world, and the US government and so many other Western governments continue to fund Israel despite all of that.
I think that if I show my face or say something against Israel is at this time, the attacks will be overwhelming.
The kind of fear and repression that leads Jews who would say more to be silent is why Israel can continue to do what it's doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think that what we're seeing on our phones, what we're reading about online, just shatters this one-sided narrative that many of us were raised with.
America is seeing something few imagined could happen: the rise of opposition to Israel, specifically among its young people. According to an Economist YouGov poll from January 21st to 23rd, among people who are 65 years old or above, 56% sympathize more with Israelis. Merely 8% say the same about the Palestinians. In the age group of 18 to 29 years old, 22% sympathize more with the Israelis, but 30% sympathize more with the Palestinians. So why is this happening? Why do young Americans in particular favor Palestinians more? We talked to one of these young Americans, and the answer he gave us was that what's going on in Gaza reminded him of what he experienced in America's South.
It's a moral responsibility of all people in the world to stand with the oppressed people when oppression is going on in the world. But I think on a more personal note, me specifically am Black and mixed race, and I grew up in the American South. And so I grew up in an environment very much plagued by injustice and plagued by violence. I definitely do see a personal connection between my own lived experiences, my own struggle, and also the decades-long struggle of the Palestinian people against their oppressor as well.
This connection is not a novel take on the issue. According to the Palestinian-Lebanese writer Joey Ayoub, 2014 was the year that really shaped the young Americans' understanding of Israel-Palestine relations. Between July and August in 2014, a conflict between Israel and Palestine led to the death of roughly 2,250 Palestinians and 73 Israelis. And while the conflict was ongoing, in Ferguson, Missouri, an unarmed 18-year-old African-American was shot dead by a white police officer. Protests erupted as a result. Palestinians tweeted advice on how to deal with tear gas to the protesters in Ferguson. According to Professor Ethan Hirsch at Tufts University, the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is seen by young people as a people of color, that is, the Palestinians, rising against the white oppressor.
To me, Palestine is one piece of a very large struggle against imperialism, racism, settler colonialism. And I think historically the American youth have been very active in this fight too, especially fights where America is directly involved with the violence being perpetrated. Like in my own campus, there's a huge movement against Vietnam anti-war in the 70s, against South African apartheid, against the war in Iraq. And so I don't think that Palestine is any different from these movements in America. It's just that people are now starting to wake up, I think.
Social media has been instrumental in this wake-up. 1 month after the conflict started, the Washington Post did a study on popular social media apps like TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. It finds that across the spectrum, pro-Palestine hashtags significantly outnumbered pro-Israel ones. On Facebook, hashtag Free Palestine was found in more than 11 million posts, 39 times more than hashtag Stand with Israel. On Instagram, pro-Palestine hashtags were used 26 times more than the pro-Israel ones. In the United States, in 30 days, hashtag Free Palestine appeared 38 times more than hashtag Stand with Israel on TikTok. The Jerusalem Post stated that Israel was badly losing on social media. A number of them found a target for criticism. the US government.
What's seemingly hurting him the most among young voters is the Israel-Hamas war. According to the poll, a whopping 70% of voters aged 18 to 34 disapprove of his handling of that conflict.
This is not going to be fixed by dispatching a few administration officials to certain neighborhoods in Michigan or elsewhere. This is going to be fixed, if it can be fixed at all, by changing policy and ending support for this massacre.
When we talked to Joseph about his view on the administration's support for Israel, we asked him what would he say to Biden if he had the chance to meet him. Joseph told us that it was hard for him to find the words because he wants to have the hope that Biden carries some humanity towards the Palestinians, but his actions are showing he knows exactly the violence that's being perpetrated. To Joseph, it seems like other than Israel, America is also sinned.
The U.S. is the largest military and financial supplier to Israel by far. It's almost instrumental to me that, like, without America, there would be no Israeli violence because America is the one supplying Israel with the weapons in the first place.
Young Americans are not alone in this. In Germany, university students have protested against the government's support for Israel and accused the United States and Germany of benefiting from the genocide in Gaza. In the UK, people aged 18 to 24 were 3 times more likely to sympathize more with Palestinians than those over age 65. In Cape Town, South Africa, young activists have shut down its local government headquarters in a call for the city's leadership to speak out against Israel's bombing of Gaza. Young people are reshaping the Palestine-Israel conflict. Their voices might not be a deciding factor right now, but they are putting the politicians under pressure and advocating for a position that has been long in the minority. And if the future, literally the future, is asking for peace in a louder and louder voice, there's no reason for those in power now to ignore them.